Welcome to Energy Careers, a segment of the Energy Conversations podcast dedicated to exploring opportunities in the dynamic world of the energy sector. For 13 years, I've had the privilege of navigating this sector, and it has significantly shaped my professional and entrepreneurial journey. Join me as we uncover exciting pathways for those interested in making their mark in this exciting sector. Let's dive in. Welcome to Energy Careers, a segment of the Energy Conversations podcast where we explore the inspiring energy journeys of industry leaders as they share insights and opportunities for young people looking to join the dynamic world of the energy sector. Today, we will be exploring the journeys of Craig Morkel, Dr. Enos Banda, Lungile Mashele, and Pippa Brown. I'd like to start off with Dr. Banda. Please, could you share a bit about your energy journey? How did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study, and what has been your career point up until this point? And if I could ask you as a parting shot to also just share one piece of advice that you would give to a young person.
Thank you. My energy journey started as somebody who wanted to be a neurosurgeon, so a doctor. So it just shows you some of the best laid plans. But what really happened is in the new democratic South Africa, being trusted was considered more valuable than what it is that you have learned. And obviously, there was a requirement that people who had skills, the ability to read and write, to think, but most importantly, who were committed to the cause of the positive transformation of our country, would then get responsibilities. So I was asked one day, I remember it was the then Minister Penuel Maduna, asked me whether I would consider being, a regulator. I was very young. I had only studied finance, done a little bit of law, and he was challenging me to teach him as much as I knew about international law, because I worked in New York before I came back after our new democratic government was installed. And he felt that I had something to offer. And, for me, the start of it was being thrown in the deep end as chairman of the electricity regulator at the time, with a simple mandate to ensure that democratic principles, transparency of governance, and inclusion of the community, which had historically been excluded from decision-making, that forms the cornerstone of how we're going to go forward with regulation. And what that required, and this is really my piece of advice, is really, really an incredible amount of recognition of the responsibility that we carry as people who are trying to learn something that is important. We are all at this moment in South Africa in a learning phase. There is no specialist on the reality that we are facing now. What is important, therefore, are the values of commitment to positive and inclusive change, shared economic development, and just really understanding that as we come up with ideas, these must be our guiding stars. So what I do today, the long journey resulted in me being an investment banker. I've been able to do project financings of energy, renewable energy and gas infrastructure. I've been a lawyer as well, as I indicated. I have managed portfolio of renewable energy assets and mixed energy source assets. And currently, as I said, I'm the founder of an energy company which currently is developing a pipeline of 11 gigawatt of renewable energy and an innovator in the grid space. What is involved is just to dream a little bit, but really with an eye, as I said, to what this will mean for our country, and to really recognize that anything is possible. My parents were farm workers, so I come from that background, and which means that no obstacle, material or otherwise, should be a determinant of where you end up. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for your time. Lungile, if I could ask you about your energy journey, how did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study? And what has been your career path up until this point?
Right. So I would say I started in the energy sector right at the cusp of load shedding, the very first batch of load shedding. And I was brought in as a consultant at the time. And Enos rightfully says that there are no specialists. These are unprecedented times, and they've been unprecedented for the last 15, if not more years. And so I came in at that time and worked as a consultant. I then joined Eskom looking at project development. I then jumped onto a rocket ship and I went into finance, development finance, basically funding of projects across the continent. And this saw me traveling all over the world, negotiating contracts in Paris, going to meet OEMs and EPCs in China, working on complex projects that solve national issues in Ghana, in Senegal, Mozambique. So it's been exciting, and I've been in that space for the last 10 years now. What did I study? I started off with an economics undergrad. I did insolvency law. I have a BSc honors in energy, a master's in energy. I'm currently doing my PhD in engineering management, but I also kept myself relevant with various energy courses with MIT as well as Duke. And I think these are the kind of things that set one apart. If I were to give one piece of advice to younger people looking at getting into this space, I just rattled off my qualifications, and they're in like 4 different faculties. And that's the thing about energy, right? You can't say you're an energy anything if you only have one set of skills. So look at procuring a diverse set of skills: financial modeling, economics, finance, projects, project management, technical, legal, ESG. That is what is going to set you apart. But also understand where the market is basically heading now. And Pippa spoke earlier on about energy markets, and we're going to need energy traders in these spaces. We're going to need finance people in these spaces. We're about to enter very complex territory, and it's going to need very complex thinking. So if anybody's looking at entering into the space now, understand where the policy direction is actually heading, and then try and slot yourself into those spaces, but obtain diverse skills. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, Lungile, and also for sharing very valuable advice for any young person looking to participate in the sector. I think you've highlighted a key point in that. And I think it also came out from Dr. Banda sharing about his career. It's really diverse skills that you need to be able to put together and really be able to position yourself as a unicorn in some respect in the market. You need to make sure that there is no one like you in the market, and that you are able to bring value to the market. And that will ensure that no matter what, there will always be a job to be had or a business to be built if you continue to diversify yourself and solve for trying to be that unicorn. Pippa, I'd like to hear a bit about your journey. Please, could you share about your journey? How did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study, and what has been your career path up until this point? And what is that one piece of advice that you would give a young person looking to make a career in the energy sector?
Thanks, Thokozile. Some tough acts to follow. I'm afraid my journey isn't as exciting, but I studied, maybe start at the beginning. I studied a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science and Economics at UCT. I then decided that I wanted to see the world. So I took a gap year and did some adventures, and then ended up moving to London, where I started with a Norwegian risk management consulting working in the energy space, and they were really a fantastic organization to work for, because they really believed in developing their graduates. I got a lot of opportunities to travel the world, to, you know, from offshore oil and gas facilities to onshore industrial facilities, to, you know, renewables and energy efficiency in the Far East at the time, to FPSOs in Angola, to oil and gas refineries in the Middle East. So really, yeah, an opportunity to get a broad set of skills that Lungile referenced to, and really develop my kind of portfolio or repertoire for myself. I then moved internally within the organization to Oslo, Norway, where that journey continued, and returned to South Africa in 2017. Really after I'd had kids, with a desire to be closer to home, but also to noticing that South Africa's energy, you know, markets and sector was going through some challenges, and I wanted to contribute to that and be part of that. And I did spend some time with an international kind of events and networking organization, where I really built up my skill set more on the business development marketing side, and then joined the Energy Council of South Africa about 1.5 years ago now. So I guess my recommendation or kind of insight to young grads or people wanting to work in the energy sector is, if you do have the opportunity, I would recommend, and Lungile spoke about it too, you know, the experiences she had traveling internationally, to go international if you can, and experience other cultures, experience other countries. I think you'll be surprised. As I said, I lived in Norway. My husband is a New Zealander, so we frequently traveled there to visit his family. And wherever you go in the world, people complain about their governments and complain about their medical system, etc. So you'll find that the challenges are the same, but you'll get some ideas on you know, how to tackle those. But definitely the final piece of wisdom is come home at the end of the day, and bring that expertise and that knowledge that you have learned internationally, if you have that opportunity, back to South Africa to really, yeah, we spoke about it earlier in the podcast, capacity to contribute to that, to contribute to South Africa's future, because I believe it does have a very bright future, and we all have an important role to play in it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Pippa. And just to echo what you've said, I think, you know, getting that international experience is so important, because it also broadens your outlook in terms of what you think, what you just generally think are problems, or what you really think or view the world, and how you view the world in a particular way. I think it really gives you the opportunity to really broaden your outlook. I think one of the greatest things, or things that I consider part of my career journey, was the opportunity to work in the UK. And I think it really did. I grew up, I think, you know, when you also have to work and live in a country that's not yours, and you're far from home, it really does. It forces you to level up. It forces you to grow up. But more than anything, what you gain at the end of that experience is to say that whether at home or not at home, I can stand and I can confidently bring value into any situation. And I think that confidence will play a very big part when you are then trying to map out your career path. And I'd like to end off with Craig, and Craig, maybe just hear from you. If you could share a bit about your journey, how did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study, and what has been your career path up until this point? And also, if you could share one piece of advice that you would give a young person, or in fact, anyone looking to make a career in the energy sector.
I spent 10 years in Parliament as a member of the Portfolio Committee for Minerals and Energy. So I, new to the subject, I then decided to do a short course run by the Mining Qualifications Authority in minerals and mining, a 6-month course that wasn't compulsory, but I needed to understand the sector better, and that was a good start. I wish that there was more education of members of Parliament in particular on these very complex but not complicated subject matter that makes up the mineral, petroleum, energy and electricity sectors. And I was very fortunate enough to learn from colleagues older than me who'd been there before, until I then decided in 2008, 2009 that I would be able to achieve more outside of Parliament in the private sector through consulting, advisory, and project development work in the energy space. So between 2009 and 2014, I was involved in attracting foreign investors in our IPP procurement program. They included IPP project developers across the technology spectrum. And then by 2014, I felt that we had learned enough to start our own project development company. And in fact, some of my former clients are now business associates who handle certain parts of the business in terms of project development. We are now focused on various technologies, including gas, solar, and battery storage, amongst others. But we've also responded to the Renewable program RFI, the small to mid-scale LNG RFI put out by TNPA for gas. And we are also quite comfortable with the decision now that we will not be pursuing a green hydrogen project in the short to medium term. We'll really look at it a bit later. The numbers don't stack up for us. For future generations, I've certainly spoken to my children and not going to force them into this sector, but they seem quite interested to know about load shedding, but they're less interested to know what needs to happen years ahead of time to avoid load shedding from recurring. So we're having a discussion, but in general, the younger generation are active on campuses and at universities and elsewhere. They should be given access to these conferences that are happening so that they can be educated there besides what they learn via their lecturers and reference work. These conferences are important in that it's not just political leaders, it's business, civil society and labor who are present there. And it's a good opportunity to get first-hand information, attend the exhibition, touch and feel some of the technology that's on exhibit there, and meet several of the stakeholders. And increasingly, youth are attending these conferences, workshops, meetings that are important to their future and should only be encouraged.
Thank you very much for that, Craig. Really valuable insights and quite an interesting and an exciting journey that you've had, and I guess also speaks to the point that Lungile made earlier about diversifying of one's skill set. And with that ends this episode of the Energy Careers segment. Thank you to our guests for sharing. We hope that this segment has assisted you in navigating your next move in the South African energy journey. Thank you to our guests and thank you to our listeners. Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning into Energy Careers, where we explore the endless possibilities in the energy sector. Don't miss out on future episodes where we'll feature more inspiring journeys and insights on how to embark on your own energy career path. Subscribe now to the Energy Conversations podcast and unlock the door to exciting opportunities in the dynamic world of energy. Your journey begins here.